know. And that's why 9/11, as the years go by, people are starting to wake up to, like, wait a minute, it's a Santa Claus conspiracy. A big fat guy can't fit down a little pipe, you know, and put a 2,000-pound sled on your roof with 8 reindeer. The roof will collapse. And he can't get to China and to your room. You see, that's the perfect metaphor. If you're asleep, you know, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So go to sleep, otherwise you don't get the presents. You know, meanwhile, if you're awake, perfect metaphor, you see that mom and dad are arguing over the bicycle they can't put together for you. So that's the thing. You just, you know, it's the Santa Claus conspiracy.
Well, you know, I've got great parents, and they never instilled fairy tales in me, but when I was about 3, it's one of my earliest really clear memories, there was the chimney in their little house on San Fernando Way in Dallas, Texas, and it had the red bricks with the little spaces in between it of the mortar, and they were explaining Santa Claus comes down through the chimney, like in between these bricks. And I remember being 3 years old and saying, but he's big and fat. This chimney's little bitty, because it was a small house. There's no way he's coming down this. And my dad said, yeah, it's just fun. It's not really true. But it's just like they were on the news saying we're going to blow up Building 7. Then they blew it up. Then they said, you never saw that on the news.
It's laughably tragic. It's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. The whole thing about 9/11, all you have to know is that 2 + 2 is 4. That's all you have to know. That buildings cannot fall in 10 seconds, you know, without unless there's free fall speed. It can't do it if there's gravity, if there's weight underneath it.
Well, they blow all 3 of them up in front of everybody. Yeah. And then that day they're saying, we're blowing it up. There's cops saying, get back. We're blowing it up. And again, that's the mind control, the Matrix. Those cops weren't involved in it. They were just told, we've talked to the cops, there was a countdown. They were told them for 2 hours before, we're going to blow it up. And the cops went, you know, they didn't think, well, how do you wire a building when it's on fire? It takes weeks to do this right. And then they blew it up perfectly, and the cops were like, get back, they're blowing it up. And then Silverstein comes out and says, we blew it up. People say, well, how did you blow it up? He says, well, I didn't mean that. And then we have a Fox News reporter go, yeah, no, Silverstein was talking about blowing it up that day. But they supposedly debunk us by admitting they were talking about blowing it up, but that they didn't blow it up, Christine.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, this is what's so crazy. Of course they're going to say that, you know?
Well, that's why they're freaking out, because...
Yeah, exactly, because they can't, it's on shifting sands. You see, the rock of truth, it's built on a rock, and it never changes. 2 + 2 is always 4. It's never, maybe 5. I mean, that's the perfect story. You know, did you ever watch the movie 1984?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so you remember, like, when John Hurt is in the Ministry of Love, which is a torture chamber, and Richard Burton's holding up 4 fingers. He says, how many fingers am I holding up? He says 4, and he gets tortured. The camera goes back, it comes back up. He says, he holds up 4 fingers. He says, how many fingers am I holding up? He says, I don't know. He says, that's better. And that's the whole thing. They just want to wear you down. If you're terrified and tortured, then you just don't want to be killed. You know, and that's what happened on that day. It was a shock and awe of 9/11. Everyone's scared to death. It's just, you know, I do believe in spooks. I do. Just don't kill me. You know what I mean? And here's the biggest tell. Not just all the evidence and the drills and the Northwoods and the PNAC documents and the hijackers trained at U.S. bases, on and on forever, and the lies about WMDs. The biggest issue is within about 15, 20 minutes, I'm watching the channels live. I'm in the shower. My wife, girlfriend at the time, wife now, comes and says, get out, something's happened. And I come out, and I'm sitting there toweling off, and one tower's been hit. And I said, this is terrorism. And she said, no, it's probably just a plane. And I said, no, you watch, it's going to be terrorism. Then another one hits. And then by the time the second one hit, they were on every channel. And I had 2 TVs on, you know, one in each room, flipping back and forth. And they were all saying the same thing. It's a new world order. You're going to have to give your rights up. We're going to have to attack Iraq. And it was all the same script. And if you're in the media, you understand the script. I mean, you're an actress. You understand a script. And you can do the same play in L.A. that you can do in San Francisco, or you can do in New York City, you know, on Broadway. And you know the script. You're like, oh, that's Othello. Or that's Romeo and Juliet. Or, you know, that's... whatever play it is. I mean, I'm watching them reading scripts. Yeah. Well, what about when they told too early that Building 7 was coming down? They said it at 5 o'clock, and it didn't come down till 5:25.
No, exactly, and it was an exact script on 3 different networks.
Whoops, a little early. I mean, it's so transparent. You see, that's the way lies are. You have to keep changing the story in order to keep it going. You know, with the truth, you just have to tell it once. It's so much easier, you know.
Well, Mark Twain said, if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything.
That's right.
And that's what's so easy about my job. I mean, sometimes I get facts and figures and numbers backwards, but it's rare. In a 4-hour show, maybe once a day, I'll listen back to the show and I'll hear something isn't exactly right, and I'll come back and correct it. But these guys are. I mean, it's like Fox News saying there was never a plan to blow up Building 7, and then now one of their senior people goes, "Okay, we were there. They were talking about blowing it up." And it's just incredible. Christine Ebersole, thank you for standing up. Thank you for empowering people through this oppression, through this brainwashing, for breaking the spell and helping others break the spell. We'll talk to you again soon. It was great talking to you, and I'll say bye to you during the break.
And thanks for everything you do.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Christine. Christine Ebersole, standing up against the New World Order and helping others break out of the matrix. We'll be right back with the good news on climate change.